And we are live partying sometime on the 7th. No, wait. The 7th of January. No,
Ooh, it's party
uh,
day.
that's just how we're going to start the show from now on. We will have a jingle. I want to have a live band. And I want somebody on the side to just basically laugh at everything I say. Wait, hold on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. If you need me to be your Ed McMahon, I can be that sidekick, man. We can make that happen.
No, dude, I can be your epic man as long as we're making it a fun show for everybody. I feel like
I mean,
it's
that's the
really
thing about our streams. It's only just two sidekicks.
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna be TK's sidekick, and he's gonna be mine. And then
That's
there's
how it's
no
gonna go
host.
down.
So
No,
that's how it's gonna
no.
happen.
We keep looking for funny jokes and we never find them because nobody's pitching it to us. So we gotta, we need the person.
I'm just here to react and laugh at your the Andy Richter, but there's two Andy Richters and no Conan.
It is absolutely. I want to say first and foremost, hope you had a good New Year's. I watched the stream on Monday, and there was actually a few mentioning of me right before, like when I joined the show. You guys were talking about the the live stream and so on, and then I forgot, was it Aditya that mentioned that I was doing live stream, which I have actually started on Monday. Uh, for no apparent reason other than that I was just up and I'm playing Warzone. So, but I did pitch the idea this morning during the live stream. That is, I said, if I can get Juan to play Warzone, maybe we can turn the best of our week into a gaming live stream, which means it ends up becoming, you watch us play, we're playing, co-op, but we're talking. So I'm like, I just need to get you on it. We just need to do that, or we do the Among Us, whichever one you want.
I wonder, if it were a gaming live stream, and would it be more entertaining to try and do more battle royale or like some co-op? Like we could try and do let's see how much we suck at Cuphead. Yay!
Hey, yeah, it's like watch us lose. Yay!
Live, die, repeat.
Exactly. I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see maybe one day if we'll find a game that we can both play at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
I started on Monday, basically just streaming about an hour worth of Warzone every in the morning. So I'm trying to see if I can keep doing it because I'm usually up at that time anyways playing Warzone. So I figured why not just stream it? Like there's nothing really going on. So just for reference, Greg, Joe Hickey, and I think every once in a while I'll see Matt. They jump in and just razz me and talk to me, hang out with me for about a 45 minutes to an hour. So it's fun. It's it's something to do in the morning. But I have to say, I did catch your show last week on Saturday. That was nice. That was a nice live replay of your Patreon. I think was it the deep dive on the Note 20 camera, the 20 Ultra?
Yeah, that I mean, I'm trying to do some fun things with some of the Patreon videos where I don't think that there's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a roadmap for making them just outright public. I've gotten a lot of suggestions like, well, I mean, like after a month, you should just make them public. And you're like, well, no, then people are just going to wait a month. They're not going to actually be a part of the Patreon. So instead, I think this sort of random, you never know when it's going to stream. I just kind of felt like doing it then. Yeah, the Note 20 was kind of an interesting camera to do the full deep dive on, but then taking it right back and doing the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's a camera conversation that I feel a lot of people have still passed over, and I don't feel like that phone got nearly enough credit, and it's an amazing shooter.
Absolutely.
So it's a shame that that's the gig.
I'm just very so first I think the way you did it is a very good way to do it. It's live stream it, you have it as a kind of like a secondary premiere of the actual original content. And it does, you're right, making it into a certain, just like an offset or some kind of a cadence of where you release it will take away some of the exclusivity. But the fact of the matter is the community, as you can imagine, is very supportive. So it was very nice. And thank you, since I decided to take Saturday off anyways. I figured, I was like, people were showing up, or like, TK's not on. And I said, it was weird. And I think what happened is that we talked about it on Wednesday last week. And I honest to God, I just wanted to take a day, just to kind of take the weekend, hang out with the fam. We stayed up on Thursday night. Omar wanted to stay up. He waited for New Year's, and then as soon as 12:02, we were out. um, and yeah, I left stories, and what kicked me is I forgot to leave tweets. I didn't tweet it out saying that I was not going to be around. I left stories and fleets and whatever that fleet is on Twitter and stories is on Instagram, and anyways, I left it around the universe. But sorry, it is late. It is Thursday. It is the 7th of January, and we are with Juan Carlos Bagnell, Mr. Gadget Guy. Go ahead.
It's just funny because, like, if you would ask me, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, you fleeted it. That's not a real thing. Stop trying to make fleet a thing. It's not a thing. And
yeah.
Now it's just the sad reality of our lives that our lexicon is beholden to social media companies trying to come up with novelty, and that's where we're
at. For the same exact thing, released on multiple platforms, copied from each other. But it's ingenuity. They discovered it. They apparently made it better because everybody's on the fleet. Which I actually surprisingly, I feel like Twitter stories don't perform as well. I don't think Twitter is an environment where I feel people look for other people's stories. I think people are more like into in the moment, what the reactions, what the comments, what the tweets, and so on.
Yeah. But it's also this fallacy that every social media company seems to think that they need to be everything to all of their users, and instead of just focusing on sort of a core feature that you can do better than anyone else. And I think that's why TikTok surged in the popularity that it did. It's because it was sort of replacing that thing that people still had the vague memory of Vine in the background. And I think it's dumb, but I understand why it's, it is popular or it is successful.
It's a time warp, my friend. It is not just popular. It's a time warp. You go in and you never know what time you're going to. That's how I say it.
But I mean, to that same token is I don't need any of that in my Twitter. I need Twitter to just give me a chronological timeline of what is happening when I'm looking at Twitter. And then that's it. My relationship with Twitter is fulfilled, and I'm not looking for anything else than that. And I think Twitter would do well to remember to stay in their lane. They're not.
I would say do what you do best and stick to it. That's my thought process. And I felt like, when Instagram took on stories, that kind of had its own thing. But then Instagram is a visual type of a platform, so it kind of worked out for them. I don't disagree that platform succeeded there, but I feel like Twitter, which is a very text based, but
again, I mean, my issues with Instagram are all Facebook. Because
absolutely. And
now they've even changed where the buttons are to try and trick your muscle memory into looking at more advertisements.
More advertisement shopping.
I gotta say, we were talking about this on my Discord earlier in the week after yet another just rough moment on social media. My wife deactivated her Facebook account. And so my mom is looking at maybe doing the same. One of her aunts was like, you know what? I'm kind of done too. And just put her account on pause. It's getting rougher and rougher. There was the announcement that WhatsApp is changing their terms of service so that they
did. It's a forced up. You have to accept or you couldn't use it anymore. They basically forced everybody's hand to share data with Facebook, which is, it's crazy. It's crazy how they were. Yes, no, this was the whole point of what everybody was not supposed to be doing. They're supposed to let them run. The whole concept of antitrust, the whole concept of not trying to meddle everything and crossover. And Instagram keeps wanting me to, what is it called? Keeps wanting me to update or connect my messenger between Facebook and Instagram so that it can communicate with everybody. I'm like, I don't communicate on Facebook. Facebook to me, seriously, is more of a side post, if anything. I'm not really active in there. Either way, it gets us to a point where realistically, things on social media can get crazy. But at least, like I said, for me, I just feel like stories on Twitter, I think it's a misstep. Social media is social media for the way it is. But either way, how have you? I saw a few videos from you this week. I saw like I said, the live
Yeah.
stream on Monday. Doing okay? Did you guys celebrate or stay up on New Year's, or called in early?
Um, so I don't feel like my 5-year-old daughter fully understands the implications of, or the ramifications of time zones.
Okay.
So around 9 o'clock, we pulled up the ball drop because you could watch the
New
East Coast
York.
feed,
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York feed, and you know what was really sad? This is the first time I think she's been sort of just aware. Like there's a special thing that happens and a ball drops. And that I don't know what that means, but everyone seems to get really excited about it. We had a couple of those like confetti poppers, you know, you
Hmm.
twist a thing and it looks like a champagne bottle, but then it sprays out like gold confetti. We were going
Okay.
to try and make it really fun. The East Coast feed happens and it's basically just a camera. I mean, it looks like the worst dystopian future ever. New York is just totally empty. There's no energy, no crowd, nothing that makes this exciting. So already this is just feeling way off. But then they get to the actual countdown, and the giant video screen that they're using as a clock is basically nothing but a giant Kia ad running on a loop under the countdown. And so, like, my daughter's basically just watching this sport utility vehicle
Cool.
commercial while going 10, 9,
Nine,
8.
eight,
Like, they don't
five.
even focus on the actual ball dropping. It's like, it's literally, you're just watching this
The ad. Yeah.
stupid Kia commercial. And so, I mean, like, even for trying to make it something where we weren't going to stay up till midnight, it sucked all of the specialness out of it. It was like, hey, we know we've got a captive audience. We know you're all stuck at home. What else are you gonna do? So we're gonna ram this Kia commercial down your throat. And it was so frustrating. I don't know that my daughter really got it, but she had fun, cracking the poppers. So we had confetti
Mhm.
all over our living room. I mean, that was nice. That was fun. But about 10 o'clock rolls around and my wife and I aren't already in bed. And just like
I
we're,
wanted
we're
to go to bed. I really, yeah. To me, it
we're done
was.
with 2020.
It was.
It's
Yeah.
already 2021 for most of the rest of the world. We're just gonna party with them.
It it was one of those weird. Like when we missed the 9 o'clock drop, so we missed the live feed from the East Coast, and then happily, I don't know why, but they decided to replay it for the West Coast, starting from 9 to midnight. So we caught it on that second wind, and then Omar was like, "Oh, I'm waiting for the ball drop. I want to see the whole thing." And then the anticlimactic situation is at the end of the rerun for us in the on the West Coast, they changed the last 30 minutes. They didn't show us the East Coast ball drop. They switched it over to uh, uh, oh man, the guy from Hangover. Man, what's his name? The Asian guy.
Oh,
Mr. Chow.
yeah, I know who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I forgot the name of the actor, but so it was him and Joe McHale both sitting there doing back and forth, back banter of something. But we like, what the? It was weird. Yeah, it was just very much a weird night to kind of get over. But it is, and it happened. We did cross over 2021. Surprisingly, I'm not making that many mistakes this year to call 2021 2020. That I'm actually I wanted it to be
You know
done.
where it's messing me up the most is when I'm making folders for my project files.
Okay.
Like,
Oh,
where did
because
that project file go? Oh, because I named it 2020, so it put it right back up at the top of my list from January of last year.
that's how it is. Dr. Ken, I think Maz B saying it's Dr. Ken.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, Ken Jeong.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Hey, Aditya's in the chat. Rolando's in the chat as well. It's just mess. Just call it 2022 and call it even. Yeah, I think we could just skip forward, just go straight to next year. But yeah, it's one of those weird things. But the fact is, we made it. We're good. Next week is
Are we
obviously
though? Because I feel like this week was like
uh,
another like just when we think things can't get any weirder.
this week was actually taking a nice chill conversation up till like midday yesterday. That's literally where it just took a nosedive into the ground and just kept pounding its head down for some
Just
reason.
just when we thought we were doing okay. Just when you thought it was safe to get back in the water, the Jaws shark returned.
Exactly. it was just, and it's still going.
Did you have any like family or any friends, like were they near any of the hotspots? Because like
No,
we
no,
even have
luckily.
some more distant relatives that were affected by some of the other state situations,
Oh,
because there were
yeah.
like seditionists going to like governor's mansions and state houses, and like
Oh,
it wasn't just DC. Apparently
there was-
this was coordinated all across the United States. So
I don't know why I'm not surprised. That's the, like, I would have been surprised if it wasn't been, I guess. I don't know. It's just weird. It
mm,
is. It was definitely a very stressful day. Still is a stressful situation because it's technically ongoing with the development as thing goes on. But
yeah.
I found it very interesting that how long it took for social media to step in, to recognize
Hmm.
that they were a massive tool in this entire conversation.
Right.
And they were, and they let it
And
happen. They just waited.
it's all of the jokes that we've been telling, like, oh no, who could have seen this coming steadily over the last 4 years? It's
Like,
we've been building to this moment, and well, congratulations, we made it. Here we are. This is exactly what you've been priming us for all this time. And now it's a bunch of people like clutching their pearls and just so shocked that it got this bad. Nope, we've been telling you, we've been warning you. When you've got crackpot conspiracy theories spreading bad information, disregarding good information, not doing any significant fact checking, and then existing in their little echo chambers of social media where their bad ideas are just reinforced.
mhm.
Eventually, we're going to get action, and that action is going to be motivated by terrible data and ill will, and that's exactly what we got. And it's, again, I'm not surprised. I'm just, yet again, my country has managed to disappoint me. It didn't shock me, it just left me feeling horrifically sad and disappointed that yet again we found another new low. And
It
we
is.
keep trying to tell people, and they keep shrugging off these concerns, or they keep dismissing these concerns, and yet they keep coming true. So at what point do we drop the facade and say this is fundamentally broken?
And my only hope, if anything, is that they're able to learn at least from what went on today. If there's a
I
lesson to be learned,
I
and
think the problem with learning a lesson is that you have to have a little bit of humility. And I woke up this morning to people that the fringes going, well, this was a false flag deep state operation from Antifa,
yeah,
or it wasn't really as bad as what they made it out to be. And it's like, just like any other protest, like BLM, or the Women's March, and you're like,
mhm.
that's absolutely not what this was like
they're
at
they're
all.
they're not even, yeah, no, no, they're
So
they're not even in the same ballpark.
they're already dismissing it. They're playing the whataboutism game. They're shrugging it off. They're whitewashing it. We're all just kind of trying to pretend like we can get back to business as usual, ignoring that there was a failed coup attempt, or it's even that. Like, I've even seen a few of the social media threads where, well, it's not like they succeeded. Like, a
It,
failed coup is still a failed
no,
coup. You don't get bonus points in our legal system
you don't get
for
you don't, yeah,
succeeding.
absolutely, no, no, it is one of those, the way it went, it was just very, yeah. And then the like I said, the social media took forever to respond, and now we're seeing different responses and things, and the fact of the matter is, you know, it's the timeline is the timeline, and there is a few the days are the days that are left are numbered. Let's put it that way.
Well, we can hope. Again,
I hope
the
so.
only positive thing that came out of this was the few token efforts that actual elected officials were going to raise to try and fight, the vote count and the electoral
Mhm.
count. They at least had to step aside because they had just been ushered out of Congress because of an armed insurrection. Oh,
It
well,
is.
maybe if we play this game, it's really bad. Well, now that it's personally affected me as a Republican congressman, maybe now I won't play this stupid game. Again, I mean,
It
it's
is.
like we've been telling you, but it hasn't hit them directly. So it was just this cute little fun thing that they could do to gin up some controversy and rile up their base, only they had people with guns storming their office building. So now they care. Now they're really worried about the civility. And it's all just
Exactly.
so disingenuous and hypocritical, and I'm tired of it. That's, I think, the most exhausting part of this aspect is these are people who have not contributed to the political process with any goodwill. This has always been about playing a dumb game for their own personal self-interest. And this time they almost got burned bad. But they didn't learn anything from it. They weren't shamed by it. They went right back to work the next day acting like they could just, pop in on their social media, their conservative radio, their cable news, and act like, yeah, NBD, no big deal. It's all good. It's all fine. And we can go right back to spreading misinformation and fear and uncertainty. And we're not going to learn from these lessons, then it's just going to keep getting worse.
It is. And then it is sad. It's hard to, it's just stressful to consume this type of content. It's stressful to be in a place where this actually kind of happens, like in our country, at our capital. This thing did actually happen, and that people are not just realizing what's in front of them, which it's not only in front of them, at their doors, at their windows. That's the weird.
And quote me on this in 15 years, but we're going to have some fake debate about whether or not it should go into textbooks in Texas. well,
this will be erased out of the history. This never happened.
In 15 years, it'll be, well, there was a concern and some patriots took their concerns strongly to the nation's capital.
But nothing happened. Nothing happened. Everything was great.
And then the Native Americans taught the Pilgrims how to plant corn.
This
American history is perfectly fine and totally safe.
It is totally safe. On a lighter note.
Yeah, let's switch gears. I'm sorry. It was more just like
no. I know. It's a rabbit hole of things. I mean, I can definitely see a conversation going on for hours. What I meant to say is, obviously, with that being the major event this week, hopefully next week's major event would be CES.
Yeah.
Quick, easy, unprofessional way of segueing from one conversation.
The best segue I've ever been a party to.
I don't think there's a better. Yeah, no, it's muddy. It's going to happen. So with CES next week, normally you and I would have been hanging out together in about a couple of days by now. We would be, independently going to Vegas. You with your crew, me with the family.
What we would have maybe even been able to pull off would have been like a road trip. Like, hey man,
yeah, no, dude, totally. This totally would have been the year to just do the road trip. Yep. We just go, we kick it, and stop at Barstow. We do we hit all the stops. We do everything we're supposed to do to buy on the way to Vegas, and then we get in and we kick it and we rock it. We go to every event, we hang out. We go to Showstoppers, we go to, PepCom and all of those. And, but they took it from us. COVID took it from us. But we'll have to see, how it goes. I'm actually I'm excited to see that there's things that are digital. I'm missing the hands-on experience. That's one part I'm going to be really missing.
So you've been sitting, and there have been a few pre-show events, and they're all Zoom calls, and my brain is so fried. I mean, it sucks, I definitely feel for the PR agencies that are trying to drum up some excitement. They're trying to hit some energy, and the first day of some of the major pre-shows was yesterday.
In the middle. Of the current situation.
Yeah. And so I definitely the just the most heartfelt sympathies, because there are people out there that are really trying to do their jobs, and they're really trying to do them well. And they're unfortunately trying to reach out to people like me who are fried. And just like I'm trying not to let the full weight of my tech burnout hit me here. But to that same token, it's difficult to try and deliver some kind of coverage when it's Zoom calls and then maybe a couple press photos. Maybe you get like a Google Drive link for some images to download.
It'll be basically, yeah, everybody gets the same content. Everybody has the same article, same material essentially.
Same
And
press release.
you're literally, it's almost like, I'm not saying you are, but it feels like a copy paste from
And
one to the other.
and it's really, and the thing is, like, I don't do that kind of content. Like, I don't write up press releases, and I don't cover leaks and rumors and pre-show kinds of stuff on my channel just because I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time.
Mhm.
So it's a really tough position to be in because there are announcements that I really do want to cover. But in years past, I would have been in a room with the camera to be able to share like my Johnny on the spot reactions to this.
Which is what people look for. Which is what people look for from us. Yeah.
Yeah, like no one's coming to my blog to read write-ups on press releases. Like that's Engadget. We have Engadget. You go to Engadget, you're good.
You got the Engadget, Verge, and probably XDA's website too, because they do
a variety of other places. Yeah. There are places to go. The point I'm trying to make, you can rub it in, TK. There are more places to go than going to my website. I'm just trying to say people don't go to my site for that.
I was trying to make it sound like in a nice way. I wasn't trying to make it look that bad. Okay, fine.
Respectfully, you suck. But anyway.
Hey man, my website sucks. My website sucks way more than yours. I mean, I don't even have articles. I just literally have my videos, in which I need to start uploading again.
Right. So
I haven't updated it, but yeah.
I mean, I have done an okay job. So one of the things that kind of reinforced that was when we had that major YouTube outage, and all of my videos are backed up on Twitch. So I was like, haha, you can still watch my videos, and my traffic skyrocketed.
There was nothing. Yeah, they couldn't watch it. The YouTube was just not the source was not there. Which
you wanted your tech fix, you had to listen to me soapbox and lecture about how terrible reviewing has gotten over the last couple of years. Anyway, so no, I mean, I'm in that same boat with you where I'm not entirely sure what my coverage is going to look like. I'm still strategizing with a couple other outlets that I might work with during CES, and it's incredibly difficult to sit and pay attention to a Zoom call when I'm in my office and I should be shooting content. I should be producing content. I can't, I'm already twitchy enough. Like, I can't just sit and watch TV and not be like occupied, playing a game or working on an article or writing up notes or for me, it's like benchmarking phones. Like I'll be sitting watching Mandalorian and have like 4 phones in front of me going, okay, well, how fast did that one process 200 raw files? Okay, good. Let me put that in my spreadsheet. Like I can't sit here and just be on a Zoom call to then ask some cheesy question about, well, what makes your monitor different than someone else's monitor? I can't, just my brain revolts at that being the focus of my time.
There's a reason why people so what I think what we're trying to reinforce is there is a reason and there is a purpose for conferences and for shows and events like these. And the reason that they're held is because of the placement, the timing, where you are, what you're doing, the fact that you are away from your current studio, you're in front of your TV, your couch, and so on. It's conducive of actual production and creativity. So you are trying to provide that right there, as you said, the Johnny on the spot kind of an approach, which I'm not sure how this is going to be. But again, for me, CES, although there's going to be obviously some announcements, we're seeing some announcements coming out already. There's going to be some pre-show things, NDAs signed, a whole bunch of things going on before, which is typical to CES. But I think for the most part, most of these people they're signing NDA on information, but there's still no hands-on. It's literally a press release. So for content creators like us, for video creators, how can we do the thing that we do correctly if all we're doing is we're disseminating the same content as everybody else? And that's where it gets a little bit concerning for me. But again, it's my hope that maybe 2022, as what I think was it Maz B, I think, maybe we could just jump straight this 2022 and call it even. Uh, we'll have to see. I'm intrigued to see what's going to come up. We have Samsung at the end of the week, which is also interesting. They decided to move up a month.
But that also felt like a reaction to Xiaomi that like, hey, we didn't get there first. It's
we
crazy.
didn't get to announce it first, and Xiaomi is like, nope, 888 is out. It's there, and it's going to ship at the time. By the time Samsung announces their S21, Xiaomi is shipping their 888 Mi 11, which is a funny fun at a specific company. I'm laughing at this. They're not in. Okay, so don't get me wrong.
You're parsing this a lot. This is great. No, please continue.
No. Kudos to Xiaomi for getting to it, but I don't know why Samsung has to feel threatened to what they are. Xiaomi and Samsung are competitors. Obviously, they're competing for attention, but Xiaomi is not in the US currently yet. They're trying to make a presence around the world. They're more in the European market and the Asian market. In the US market, it's pretty much Samsung. Samsung is like probably going to still be the number one company to get the 888. It's going to be on all, carriers and blah, blah, typical to what Samsung normally does. I just don't feel like it's a race that people need to be so concerned and so just because they have an 888, I'm not going to go, say that this is better. The devices have to speak for themselves.
No, I think Samsung is probably a little bit more worried, because it's not necessarily about the United States competition. I think Samsung is feeling pretty comfy there. They've got the carrier relationships, they've got the partnerships. They're half of every Android phone sold is a Samsung. It's more. I feel like Samsung continuing to help enable and drive the price escalation opposite Apple as the main competitor is starting to wear away at sort of consumer confidence. And so Xiaomi is a brand that is shaking up a lot of markets, throughout the EU, throughout India, throughout the sort of Asian Pacific theater.
Yeah,
that's a hard competition for Samsung, especially in a year where even though globally they were still the number one, they basically lost market penetration to every other competing brand. Like it's tough. And the reaction to their more premium phones, like the S20, were very lukewarm. I mean, that phone did not perform well. Samsung's quarterlies were saved by their A series phones. And then the big excitement, I mean, there was a freak show excitement around the Fold, but the big excitement in terms of consumers really buying products was the FE.
And they felt they needed to release the FE. Yeah.
And so here is where Xiaomi is eating their lunch. Because my hypothesis, my prediction is that the Galaxy S21 is not going to be a real S21. It's going to be a more expensive S21 FE. It's going to be like the Note, where you've got a plastic-backed,
yeah. Speaking of which, some of the things we're seeing, plastic on both the Plus and the standard model.
Just like how the Verizon S20 didn't have a memory card slot, I feel like there are going to be more significant compromises on the S21 so that they can hit an $850 price point. They want the headline S21 launches cheaper than the S20. But it's not going to be a real replacement to the S20. It's going to be a more expensive replacement to the FE. Well, here Xiaomi comes along with a $650 phone running the same top-of-the-line chipset and also incorporating things like that super megapixel-dense camera sensor.
Right on the box.
That's a feature that's going to be on the S21 Ultra. So now the marketing numbers make it look like for half the price, you can get an S21 Ultra, but it's just going to be called the Xiaomi. So I
Yep.
think Samsung is actually in a really precarious position. They still spend $10 billion a year on advertising. They still have
Mhm.
this huge global infrastructure that they need to fuel. They cannot nimbly adjust for every single individual market and region. And they got fat by convincing people they needed to buy the top premium phones, and then they started ratcheting up the prices on those top premium phones, and people didn't follow them. There is not the same kind of brand loyalty for Samsung that,
As
like
Apple.
obviously Apple has.
No, no,
So
no.
yeah,
And I think Samsung treats themselves as the Apple of the Android ecosystem.
totally. And they're not.
And no, and
Close.
no, for me, it's so my prediction of the S21 outside of the camera design of the bump that we see on the back, the aesthetics of the actual device, is that it's truly uh, literally like an S20. I don't really feel like it's going to be bringing any earth-shattering features other than the 888, which is again not their accomplishment, but essentially it's just it's their like I'm not really feeling that the super excitement like as to what they're going to announce. The pen input support with the expensive case option that you have to now. So
Yeah.
the phone will probably start at 1100. I'm talking about the Ultra. Obviously, I'm assuming some features are going to
Do
be.
you think the Ultra is going to get here for under 12? I'm expecting that to be a $1,300 phone before you add the
Before the
accessory,
case, it's before you add that expensive 100 something case
the
with the pen.
S10 and the case and everything else. I'm expecting it to be at that tier, and it's
So
because
I gotta go
Samsung
sell some
can't.
stuff then. Okay, I'll be back.
No, I'm serious. Like I don't think Samsung can compete on price when they also pay for so much marketing, and they have to pay for so much brand awareness, and they have to fuel all of these, these internal divisions. And there's such a huge company. I feel like, they have to put that MSRP on there so that the carriers are happy. They have to put a $1,300 MSRP so that someone goes into a store and a sales clerk can say, "Oh, well, I mean, you're not going to spend $1,300 on a phone. Just pay $50 a month for the next 30 months."
With
And
no,
you're
no,
going to
no, with the $600, $400 to $600 deposit. That's what they did on the note. So one thing to keep in mind when you think of financing or doing whatever type of installment plan, if you want to call it, most carriers no longer can do just pay $50 a month and everything is fine for 24 months or whatever. They can't do that anymore because the price is so high. When you break it up, it's still more than what the consumer is willing to do. So for them to get that $50 magic monthly payment price that people are comfortable with, or I don't know why anybody's comfortable at 50. But the short answer is there's a down payment, and T-Mobile does that as well. And you don't recover that. That is right out of the box. So you're paying a down payment, the taxes on the actual phone, and then you start paying the $50 a month. So the thing for me,
but we have conditioned consumers in North America that's still better. It's still better than spending $1,300. I mean, do you have $1,300 you just want to put on a phone? I mean, you don't want a poor person phone, right? Right.
I don't want a phone that doesn't boot Android. Let's put it that way.
So I mean, like this is the precarious position that Samsung is in. They're trying to pull an LG. They're trying to launch their next base level flagship for less than their previous flagship. But I guarantee you that it's going to come with some significant compromises for that launch. And in the same way, and it won't even be as much of a cost savings. I mean, going from V50 to V60, we lost the higher resolution display and we lost the telephoto camera lens.
Yes.
And everything else on the V60 was better. And it supported a dual display case. And it supported stylus input. You got so much, and the battery was a substantial upgrade over the V50.
Bigger battery, bigger display, stereo speakers.
At the beginning of 2020, how many tech influencers talked crap about the V60 just not being exciting enough? And LG just is never exciting enough. S21 is going to roll around, and I guarantee you, we're going to see all kinds of coverage about how magnanimous a gesture, How amazing. Samsung is walking back from the edge and they're giving us a better bang for our buck. Look, they made the S21 cheaper than the S20. Isn't that incredible? And it's not going to be a direct continuity. It's not going to be a direct continuation of the S20. It's going to be like the Note, like the base model Note is kind of a crap phone that really only exists to push
so that you can exactly
to the higher tier.
And I feel like that's exactly what once I started seeing the rumors about the plastic back, I felt like, oh my God, they didn't learn. They feel like the Note scenario or the Note pitch that they gave a few months ago was a success for some reason, and the fact that they had to drop the prices on both the Ultra and the 20 and the standard Note 20 because
I think they did kind of learn. It's just unfortunate that what they learned was a pain point phone should exist to ratchet up. And so, yeah, you're going to have an S21 Plus. And oh, you missed the Note. We missed the Note too, but you can get this S21 Ultra or a Z Fold 3 because you only need to do work on your phone if you can afford to just buy a $2,000 phone. Because otherwise, what work would you need to do on your phone? Because you're poor.
What can you do? That's the question. You can't even do anything on a phone that's not 2000. It's a very weird. I find it very weird when I see scenarios like this, when I see like press releases and conversations when they put out specs and information and they basically expect people to just absorb and repeat. But you're right to the story. If they set the story in that sense where they do release just the initial price lower, the starting price is lower than what they sold the S20 last year. That's going to be the major headline. That's what everybody's going to jump in on. That's going to be the conversation that goes from middle of January till the end of January, till people start getting their devices, and then nobody was going to talk about it because prices will change. It's available at that point, a whole bunch of different things. And I realize it's a soundbite. That's really what they're shooting for. They want the soundbite, and they're probably going to get it. I don't really see many people are going to see through it. And we'll have to see what they really end up doing as far as the announcement. But I think I found it very interesting that they decided to move up. But as you said, there is actually quite a good story. I mean, one thing to say, Xiaomi has with the Mi 11 is a device that I'm excited to check out if once we're able to see if we're able to get something like that. But I was actually very excited about the Mi 10 last year and the Mi 10 Pro. I felt like they brought us a very, very refined product from Xiaomi with a very good, like the 108 megapixel camera was on the Mi 10, not just the Mi 10 Pro. It was on the Mi 10. It was the other lenses that they decided to play around with the configuration from Xiaomi. But the Mi 11 is exciting for me because it's a combination of many things that they've learned from last year. And what also the exciting part about it is how it's setting up the stage for the Mi 11 Pro, which we didn't even hear about yet. We're still talking about the base Mi 11. So what they're showing us, that's the base, guys. There's still the one up. There's still the hold my beer kind of conversation. Right. Let me show you what I can do.
Well, I mean, for Samsung this year, it's going to be a quad HD screen that can still do high refresh, like a OnePlus 8 Pro.
Like the thing that everybody wanted in 2020.
Right. Samsung will finally catch up to the OnePlus 8 Pro a year later.
And finally, or even the Find X2 Pro, man. Hey, the Find X2 Pro and the OnePlus 8 Pro both had QHD.
Yeah,
it's the same.
They're very, very similar.
Very similar, more like twins, my friend. No, I'm just kidding. Fraternal twins.
Maybe the cousins of twins who got married to twins.
Twins. Yeah. But the display, though,
they would be siblings, but they're still cousins.
But totally cousins, yes, totally cousins.
What was it, the Patty Duke show? I don't know, how old do I need to tell people that I really am?
Yeah, I think we all know, my friend. We all know, but we all also know that I would say this much: it's going to be an interesting show. I'm very. The Note event was very interesting. I felt very, very confused walking away from it. I hope I won't be confused out of this one, but I'm pretty sure Samsung will deliver on that. I'm not trying to bag on Samsung, and we're not trying to make it sound like we don't like him.
No, I'll bag on Samsung. You can be.
No, no. It's not a diplomatic thing. I'm saying is they're doing it to themselves. I don't need to back. I don't need to do the job. They're just literally setting it up.
No, I'm gonna keep pointing out that they're doing it to themselves because that's
Okay.
even worse. Yeah, because like we're supposed to be pointing to competition, and there are
Mhm.
two monster players. There's Samsung and Apple,
Yeah.
and I have much higher demands of the market leaders than I do the much smaller competitors, and I just don't see Samsung really rising to the occasion with better competition. I see them continuing the same playbook of mean-spirited advertising, of
And
drumming
later
up
deleting them.
controversy, and then
Mhm.
later copying what Apple's business strategies were to try and extract the same kind of money to squeeze their consumers more instead of really trying to lay the groundwork for innovation and competition in ways that I think could be much better for the market overall. And so when I see a play like, well, we'll push stylus support to the Z Fold 3. No, I used a Velvet with with
Mhm.
the pen. And you know what? You can give me an amazing stylus pen touch experience for $600.
Absolutely.
There is no reason to now start pretending that you only deserve a stylus if you can spend $1,300 or more. And this is a play straight out of Apple where it's like, we want the headline that our phones are cheap, but then you need to buy a charger and you've got to get these accessories and you've got to
It
bump up the storage. And
it's
suddenly
the
you're
airline approach to business
exactly.
model,
Yeah,
piecemealing it.
and so suddenly your decently, competitive priced phone is now substantially more expensive than actual competing products. And I'm tired of giving them a pass on headlines and on marketing that makes it seem like they're doing something kind of cool, but then the reality of it is more exploitive. And
Yeah.
and we can sit here and say like, well, Samsung's doing it to themselves, but in doing it to themselves, like, man, we're all paying for it.
It's a weird situation to be in, to see that the company that used to be innovating, the company that used to be I mean, it was trying to basically push the innovation line, producing a new type of hardware, the glass, the curvature, the design, it just it, it just all became literally almost like, why even bother? Why even bother doing that if all you're going to do is literally look at the other guy's book and take a cop and just copy over. um, the concern that I'm worried about is I don't feel like most of the changes that they're doing with the no charger and things like that will impact mid-range or like non-flagship. I feel like almost like most flagships may start doing these things, but I feel like for
Mhm.
mid-range and budget devices, they can't afford to play that game because those are the people that are trying to truly just get what they can afford, and to try to squeeze an extra charger out of them, squeeze a case or something to that effect. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I
my
think it's at the premium phone market where those
it,
genuinely have become niche devices. They have an overrepresentation in the communities of people that we interact with.
mhm, that's
But
true.
the reality of it is those are the markets now where because they already have this sort of premium or luxury identity, that what we're buying at that premium tier is going to become increasingly less complete over time.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you're already spending $1,000 on a phone. You can spend $300 on some headphones. You're already spending $1,000 on a phone. You can spend $50 on a fast charger. Already spending $1,000 on a phone. I mean, you can buy all this other stuff too, and it's galling
Yeah.
because I kind of feel like that experience. I miss the days of like premium Huawei, where you got like this unfolding, beautiful box with a screen protector and a case and headphones and adapters and like sometimes even a memory card. Like Huawei would just dump everything in the box. You would probably want a nicer case. You might want to trade up to some nicer earbuds, but literally, like the complete experience could be sampled to some degree in that box.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we're all in a rush because Apple showed us a way to make this more profitable. Samsung made fun of them, and then hypocritically, they're the first to copy them. And it's
Yeah.
that I kind of have to keep calling out because I think it's bad business. And I think consumers are burnt out by it. And I think it's one of the reasons why when we see Samsung lose market share, it's often people going to Apple Because like, man, why be 6 months late on you squeezing me anyway? Might as well just go to Apple and just have the ecosystem
It's a more,
iMessage, FaceTime. You know, like it's getting ridiculous.
it is, and I don't know how other than other companies will actually jump in. Like that's, I feel like that's where Xiaomi, LG, OnePlus, Oppo can definitely um, try to have a better representation. Seize the market share, I would say. But my hope is that they don't come in with just a copy paste concept. I want them to bring in innovation and bring in new type of tech.
Well, and
So
you know what? Like, and I'm okay if we just kind of hold for a while. You know, like it's a chipset bump. We get maybe some slightly better 5G radio management, but then we try and hold. And
yeah,
I
and I
did a
think
video on it in the early last year where it was like, man, maybe stop making new phones. Maybe just give me some spec bumps and let me keep the same case and let me keep the same cradle and let me just kind of recycle the same chargers and let me just hang for a minute. And you're like, I'll replace the phone as the brain of all this, but don't make me rebuy everything because I'm getting a new phone here. Like I've got screen protectors for like the last 6 years from devices that like they won't fit anything else, but I got a 3-pack just in case. And you're like, it's all just e-waste now. You're like, hold tight for just a second. Don't try to act like, because consumers don't care. You know how I know they don't care is because they still buy Apple stuff. They don't care. You're not impressing anyone making a slight, minute millimeter difference change to the outside casing. All you're doing is pissing me off that I can't use my old case or that I can't use my own cradle or that I have to get some other BS accessory. That kind of stuff, I mean, it just feels so purposeful. It feels so by design that it like they're trying to gouge you out the door every single time you do something that should be fun. Buying a new phone should be way more fun than this. And
it
it's
should be.
okay. I mean, like, look at the Xiaomi, and like from the Mi 10 to the Mi 11, and it's like, you know what? This is not radical change. This is not. It's a spec bump for the processor. They're futzing around with some of the camera modules,
Which is typical. Yeah.
I'm fine with that because they also kept the pricing pretty reasonable.
Yep. And that's the thing that you really, that's the reason why people appreciate and they like the Xiaomi products. Why Xiaomi is starting to become a bigger player in the international market, which I really hope they do at some point officially come into the US as a brand that we're able to use, because their devices work here, by the way. They don't actually, there's no concern. They have enough support for their unlocked models that it actually does support US bands. My thing would be is just at least, actually, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on this. I think a pause, a year where we just take a step back, literally use the same, if you're able to just literally use the same housing, same casing, everything, and give us a spec bump. I realize it's not as sexy of a conversation for everybody to talk about.
You know, what's really frustrating is this would have been the year to do it. Going from the 865 with the separate modem to the 888 with integrated modem. I really feel like this would have been the year where you could have looked at your logic board designs, your antenna management, and it maybe would have made sense to make that fit and just recycle the same chassis. And like, I'm looking at like my V60. I've got my Xperia 1 over here. There's so many, like, they're great. These phones are fine. You're not impressing me by subtle, tiny design tweaks. Keep these same designs and just swap out some internals and we would have been great. We would have been fine. This would have been gravy. Like the shooting experience on my OnePlus 8 Pro is one of the premier hardware camera experiences of 2020. I could have floated that camera sensor again 2021. It would have been fine.
I wouldn't be surprised if OnePlus, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if OnePlus is trying to use some type of same scenario for the 9 Pro or whatever ends up being their high-end version of their 9. Which actually is surprising. Speaking of which, I really didn't hear anything from OnePlus this year, like for around CES. I thought there was going to be I would hope that for them to be somewhere involved. I
think Nord ended up kind of shifting their PR schedule because it took them a while to get him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, which I mean, so they what I meant, sorry, to kind of make to clarify the comment. OnePlus typically has some type of an event or some type of announcement around CES, and to my understanding, at least so far, I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. I saw some tweets about possibly a OnePlus band coming into India. I think that would be maybe something
Oh,
around a bit.
that'd be kind of cool, though. I mean, India really seems to be their focus, and I kind of feel like us here in the United States will probably start falling into third tier.
Hmm.
I mean, so much of Nord just screams, this is what our Indian customers have been asking for, right?
Yeah,
OnePlus 8 Pro feels like the phone you try to make to sell on T-Mobile in the United States, and then you only sell a couple thousand. Nord feels exactly like a line of devices that is coming straight out of market research in Asia.
yeah,
And I feel like that's going to become their primary focus. Their secondary focus is going to be hotter competition in the EU and UK, especially
hmm
because brands like LG just can't get a
no,
toehold back in Europe. So
in Europe,
OnePlus
I was going to say.
going to eradicate them there. And then they'll look at the United States and go, "Oh no, send them a OnePlus 9, I guess." Like it's like I feel like we're gonna
Kind of
be
what they did last year. Yeah,
well,
yeah, no, no. I mean,
yeah.
we've had that happen in the past. If you really just follow the timeline, I think with the 7, we got the 7 Pro. We didn't get the 7. At the end of the year, we got the 7T. We didn't get the 7T Pro. So
Yeah,
they've done the flipperoo switcheroo concept, kind of focusing around. Um, I'm not mad at the approach. I think what they did this year was a little bit better for me. I felt like they didn't try to reinvent the wheel at the end of the year, as if sometime magically the 865 plus is such a innovation that you needed to kind of reinvent it.
I
I
really
think
wasn't impressed. It
the AT, I feel like what they did is they gave us a mid tier
oh
between the
no,
8 and the Pro.
I liked the 8T. What I meant is, I'm sorry, I wasn't impressed by the 865 plus. Like
Oh no, yeah, yeah, no,
it
it's fine.
wasn't.
Oh, it,
It didn't seem to deliver anything in terms of real world performance that I felt was worth any kind of premium over the beginning
anytime,
of the year.
anytime you
I
overclock,
liked the
you do for
8T. I thought the
specific.
8T was a nice tweak over what we got on the OnePlus 8.
I felt like the AT it was a glimpse into what we were going to see with the 9 and the 9, 9 Pro. And I was finally happy to see that OnePlus is basically embracing Oppo technology in the parent company technology when it comes to faster charging, but also kind of keeping it at bay. So we got the 65-watt charger, but we didn't get the wireless charging. We didn't, the whole combination was perfect. The 120, the refresh rate on the display, it's a gaming centric, definitely. I got a chance to spend some time with the Cyberpunk edition, which unfortunately I had to ship out yesterday.
Nerd.
It was a very okay. If there was ever once a situation where I felt like I wished my PR contact forgot about me and would not contact me back about a device, this was one of them. But no, I instead got an email with the label, and I'm like, okay, so it's on
Well,
to the next person or whomever. It was.
yeah.
I
So,
liked it. I liked it. Yeah,
so we got the embargo. It's just funny when we get an embargo on a phone that's launched internationally,
yeah.
and
And then it's launching here.
yeah, because like literally everything that I kind of did with not true. I was gonna say anything that I would have done for the American Nord, I could have
Mhm.
done with the international Nord, but the only thing I couldn't really talk about was the pricing,
Yeah.
which did turn out to be a surprise. I was expecting N10 to be more expensive in the United States than what it launched at. So not to like, because you did a video on it, I did a video on it,
Yeah.
and those were kind of probably our sort of kind of some of our high points of the week, for getting out content and stuff. I what I guess kind of what I want to focus on is how much did the price change your opinion of the phone? Because I was ready to be very critical of the N10 until they said what it was going to launch at in the United States, and suddenly, like
It
everything was better. That's how that price tag.
I was ready to fight, man. I came in, I said I was going to do it, and then they said the price, and we were best friends now, man. I don't know what to do. We're just going to be like, hey, man, give me a hug.
Everyone say goodnight to Greg, because he's
oh yes, Greg. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night, and I'll catch you in the morning, as I typically do. Yeah, no, definitely. You know what though? I'm starting to. My voice is a little okay. That's not good.
Yeah, we're not going to make this a 2-hour run. We're going to be ending.
No. I've been so.
I shot 4 videos today.
I shot 3 videos, and this is my second live stream today.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the first one, you're doing a podcast,
and the first one, Josh and I talked for about a couple hours too. So, and I've done 3 videos this whole week because I'm trying to kind of stay back to back, and now I'm okay, that's not good. Well, I'll have to figure it out. Yeah. Sorry.
I'll ramble more too. I mean, let me tell you everything that's wrong with YouTube algorithms. People have never heard my opinion on that before. So
no. What do you have a show that you talk about it on a specific concept?
Maybe a weekly one. If I do, maybe like a Monday morning kind of talk show thing.
I heard Mondays are good.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so there are definitely compromises. No one's trying to say that. I never would say that any device is perfect or achieves some kind of enlightened special consideration. But $299, so many of the issues that I would normally have bristled at, like it's only going to get one major operating
update, and yeah, exactly.
The display this and the processing power that. Suddenly, I just couldn't care.
No, they've at $300 carrier and unlocked. Not just it's not just for T-Mobile. I think I've seen a lot of people just reference it as a T-Mobile exclusive. I mean, it's not a T-Mobile exclusive. It's take that back. It's the only carrier that will carry it. Mm-hmm. But there is a US unlocked model. You can purchase it directly from OnePlus. And at $299, that was when I was talking to Josh before, and we were talking about this whole thing, and I said, look, we really need to stop looking at this device as a OnePlus. Don't call it a OnePlus, not because OnePlus doesn't make it. This is a Nord. This is truly a sub brand or a separate brand. Because if you look at them on how they're doing it online, like even their social media, there is a separate OnePlus Nord. Twitter, Instagram and Twitter, they're separate independently on purpose.
It's a different brand. It's not.
It is. But it carries the reason that its relation to OnePlus comes with the logo, comes to Oxygen OS as we're getting it now, and we'll see that. Like as you said, there'll be an update to it. But it really is. It's truly OnePlus found a way to create a brand. I was happy and sad a little bit at the same time with the announcement, mostly because I wanted the 765 version of the Nord to come as well, not just the 690 and and then of course the N100. Although
what held you? I mean, I completely understand that sentiment, but who is shopping a $300 brand new purpose-built 5G mid-ranger when the 690 in CPU bound tasks performs basically identically to the 765? I mean, I'm really trying to think in my brain, and especially in my circles of family and friends, who is looking to shop a phone. They're concerned about 5G. They're willing to look at this OnePlus label. And the only thing that's a minor deficit from phones that can cost 2 to 3 times as much is GPU performance.
Which, if they were gamers, that would have been something else.
And again, if you're a gamer, you're not. I don't think you're shopping $299 on a brand new phone. I think you're shopping $299 on a previous year flagship to get that GPU
performance. Yep.
So again, I mean, like at $299, suddenly I just couldn't care. It's like,
well, I thought it was the right pricing. I felt like it was the right approach to bring the Nord to the market this way because of the $299 price point.
Mhm.
Because so when I was trying to, not that I didn't want to quote you like 90% at the time, but I said, Josh, I said, look, the last year's top 10 devices that were received at Christmas, the number 10 device, I think, I said, Juan mentioned it. I said it was an LG K series. It wasn't an LG V series. It wasn't an LG G series. It was a K series.
And it wasn't a Samsung.
And it wasn't a Samsung. It was an
Galaxy.
LG, if I'm not wrong, I think that's the LG K series that did release with 5G. It was a budget-friendly version from LG that I think came out later in the year. That was a 5G budget-friendly version of it. And I said, I think that's what's going to be appealing about the OnePlus or the Nord here, is because it's coming in at the right price. It's in the carrier store, which means people will walk in there, and with the feature set and what you're getting, with the reputation that ColorOS, but Oxygen OS has, I don't think people will budge. I think this is an easy purchase for any kind of.
I think this definitely helps illustrate how techies have been off about buzzwords like 5G.
Yeah.
Because we spent the entire first half of 2020 with people in the middle of these kind of lackluster conversations. I guess if 5G is important to you, 5G is not a real thing. No one's going to care about 5G. And then iPhones came out with 5G, and suddenly now consumers really seem to care about 5G.
It's Apple invented a 5G at the end of 2020.
Yeah, right. It's the iPhone 5G, right? That's just like
it didn't exist before then.
Totally. It's like I like us because we're better.
A little bit.
But again, I was trying to have those conversations early, and especially through the part of the year where we were talking about like when I was trying to do OnePlus 8 versus Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
If you care, there are consumers who care about this. It took Apple releasing their phones for the tech review industry to kind of acknowledge that this was a selling point. Even if someone didn't have 5G that year, they're looking at this as potentially a 3-year device. And they'll care about 5G over those 3 years.
3 years as 5G gets built up. Yeah.
So now, I mean, like, we've got a TCL on Verizon for $399. It's a stonking good phone. We've got the Nord, $299, and it's going to satisfy. It's going to scratch that itch. Mm-hmm. And I did. One of the videos I shot today was I kind of talked about it on my Monday morning show, but I pulled this little guy out of retirement.
You brought it up, the Nova. So I listened. I was watching. I don't comment on the whole show, but I was listening.
Because this is on your channel, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil some of my video.
Okay.
From a Qualcomm Snapdragon 625 to a Qualcomm Snapdragon 670, and we're talking roughly almost 4.5 years of smartphone in between these two devices. This wins, but not by as much as you would think it would over 4 years of processor upgrades.
Oh, wow.
And I really got to spell this out. None of my performance tests failed to complete. Rendering 4K video, mixing down an hour-long podcast, batch process editing 200 raw files from a Sony A7 III, and doing a monster compression test in RAR. This phone, not as fast, completed every test. Do you know what the only thing it couldn't do was?
Boot Android?
No, it's pretty good.
Hey, sorry, I had to go there. Go ahead.
The only thing it couldn't do was run Geekbench 5. That's
because
it.
of the running the version of Android, right? I think they left their, I think their minimum now is Android 9 or something.
Android 7.
Oh, 7.
And I still have this on the launch ROM of Android 6. The only thing I can't show you is a synthetic benchmark to talk about performance. Do you work in a synthetic benchmark? Does
I
your
do. That's what I do all day, man. I'm synthetic all
I
day
go to
long.
my office and then I just pull up Geekbench, and that's the
That's
program through which, I mean, if I want to launch, if I want to open up a document or a spreadsheet, Microsoft Office is doing just fine. This is actually supporting nearby share. So it got
so
the
that was, I
update.
was gonna. I was yeah. I was gonna. So you do have nearby, so that is show up, and I'm actually surprised that it shot 4K. Not that I don't think 4K existed a few years ago. I'm with you, but
No,
like when
the
you said the, I
625
know.
was the first to support 4K video. Not as nice as what we can shoot today, but it
I
does it.
know. It does. It does. It has. I'm glad that it first and foremost. I'm glad that it boots up. And I remember Aditya was mentioning the fact that it's the battery is mostly what the main concern that you would have on a device like that. Not that the horsepower would be.
That's
Yeah,
exactly the point I want to get, because I have conversations from people that are like, well, I don't know. I mean, if you get one of these mid-ranger chipsets, you're going to be left behind and software is going to get out of control. And
you got Aditya jumping in there. It's like, yeah, no Geekbench, no bueno.
I
I need only
only keep
Geekbench
that
scores
score.
only.
Um,
Sorry.
so that's not a concern. That's not
Yeah.
a real concern. And if you're a techie that's out there without any evidence, it's like you haven't even tried going back and using some of these phones, actually investigating. You're just regurgitating the FUD that someone
Mhm.
else put out there. Then you're not helping. You're not contributing to this conversation.
Absolutely.
So I went 4 years back. And if I had been using this phone as a daily driver, the compute power wouldn't have been a considerable concern.
Hmm.
The concern is, over 4 years, I would have faced enough battery degradation that I probably would have wanted to have upgraded.
Yeah.
That's it. And so, like, we're shopping like a 765 and 5G in a $600 phone. I'm not worried about the compute power over the next 3 to 4 years. Someone who's using a phone for using a phone and shopping in that $600 tier, which is kind of a daily driver, all rounder sort of
Hmm.
experience, they're going to be fine.
Oh,
And
no,
when we move
absolutely.
up from there, we're so OP, we're so overbuying for compute power. It's just getting silly at this point that we're not turning these phones into laptops for every interaction that we might want to.
Which is the conversation would be is why would you rather spend $2,000 on a phone than actually get a computer that can actually do more? I realize our phones can do a lot, and I'm not trying to bring the conversation away, but I'm
Mhm.
saying for somebody that it feels that they need to spend 2K, 1,600, $1,800, get the $600 phone and get $1,000 laptop. Your life will be easier because the reality of the matter, what you need was really a laptop because then you can do things with it. But the horsepower that we have right now is just way over what we normally use, what we need. I
Mhm.
think what the processing power has been doing basically is unlocking certain tiers of performance in gaming or in applications. But most people, what they care about is frame rate. Like PUBG. I ran PUBG on the six on this. It actually ran very nicely. There was no stutters. I was able to game literally as if
Mhm.
from a PUBG. I love PUBG as a game more than Fortnite. So for me, the game didn't feel any different. I love the fact that I had a headphone jack. I love the fact that if I wanted to listen to the music, I had a stereo speakers on this.
Yeah.
All of these things at that 299 price point, I felt like
There
was
are people who are going to pick up the Nord and actually like it better than a OnePlus 8.
and I think so too. I think it's truly a big thing that we finally got it. I would have loved if this was here 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, this would have been the timing for them to release this. That was the time to put
You
it
know,
out.
I feel like it is late. No, I'm not disagreeing with you there. It's
Yeah.
just until we see this next gen chipset. What is it? The 480? Is that the
The
one
four,
that's going to be 5G?
that yeah, that's the new entry 480. That's what I think
And,
was it last week that they announced it.
until I see that start hitting more devices, like I'm assuming like a Nokia will probably be one of the first to actually
Oh,
get their hands on.
Motorola, Nokia. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if the Nord 2, whatever, at some point maybe, but
the Nord 2 Electric Boogaloo. Um,
yeah.
until I start seeing those out, this is like the right window for there to be a Nord with a 690. As soon as the 480 is out, we see if
Mhm.
those performance scores actually live up to the claims. Like people are saying the 480 is going to start hanging with like the 710. If that's the case, then yes, I mean, like, move on. You know, these phones have kind of a limited shelf life for exactly what they are. If you're really into the specs and performance like we are, great. That'll be a good phone to replace this with. Right now, I'm really trying to struggle. I'm struggling to think like what do you get at 299? I mean, like I can't think of anything that really does replace this conversation. I mean, I get close. There's a lot about a Pixel that I think is kind of nicer, you know, a Pixel 4a.
The Pixel 4a is actually a decent, not just a decent, it actually was very good. The price point to feature set, I think they did a very good job pricing it at 350.
Climbing up $50 is also a bit of cash for someone who might not be able to make that jump. And they would then have to look at things like, well, do I want a phone that's going to have 5G, or do I want a phone that's going to get longer term software support?
I was going to say there's the trade-off.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, there's a balancing act that has to happen there, and there's a $50 difference in that conversation. I don't want to minimize the impact. Like it makes me crazy when I see techies act like, we'll just buy a more expensive phone, just let them eat cake. You know, like you have a budget at $300.
Yeah.
301 might be a bridge too far for that consumer.
I think, as you said, there was a lot of marketing data built behind the price point of what they did and the way it was released. I feel like they did it right. So when my conversation with Josh was basically at the end was like, I'm actually very excited to see this in the US because of what it represents and how I feel like it's going to do quite well for OnePlus. It's going to do much better than some of the other devices that they brought in. My only thing about the 3 weeks early, it wasn't to say that basically it was just too late, but I felt like if they were going to do it around the holidays, as that's what people were trying to buy, and they would have loved to have an option like that. That was primarily what it is. But yes, this should have been released at either at or shortly after when it was released the last time. But again, very happy, very grateful that we finally have the selection, or the US market has the option of picking up a Nord for $299 on a carrier, or get it directly from OnePlus. And then, of course, I don't want to ignore one comment. I think somebody has a comment regarding the statement that I made when I said, if you're going to buy a phone for $1,600, might as well buy a phone for $600 on a laptop. And the comment was referencing basically, well, how did you forget about DeX?
Yeah, Terrence is on here because I was making a face. So I think Terrence was probably reading what I was putting out there.
So I don't disagree that DeX is a very big part of Samsung devices that are the flagship side. But let's not forget the reality of what I'm trying to say is in the sense of productivity in general, Samsung is not the only manufacturer. So if we only look at Samsung in the glass window of they are the only people or the only company that can provide us this experience, then yes, I agree with you. DeX is a very good substitute, but DeX does not run on the phone on its own. DeX needs something to run on, be it a TV, be it a laptop, a shell, like what we talked about the next stock. And it's truly, let's just say this, DeX has a very good way to provide us a powerful ecosystem to use our devices with. They can run truly like a laptop from the phone. It's using the whole power of the phone. So you can run multiple windows, you can snap windows in multiple instances. That I appreciate. But we can't look at Android as just Samsung. You have to look at the ecosystem.
But Samsung. I mean, I think I want to get us to a point, and Apple in a very roundabout way is actually going to help with the M1, where more software is going to be ARM based. We're going to see really great experiments with
more development coming in. Yep.
But also with like Linux development.
No, that's what I meant.
Kind of becoming a distro of Linux in a very strange way. I mean, just when we're talking about kernel, like if you need legacy support for old x86 applications, like just run it as a virtual machine. Just like let's stop pretending that we need to have a Windows kernel that's as bloated for support. But when we start looking at sort of the modularity, and it's the thing that I'm kind of hoping Android can maintain, or Google can maintain, even when we get like a next gen Android OS, like a Fuchsia or whatever we're supposed to get.
Whatever ends up being the future.
when I look at, how you spend your money, there are some interesting permutations of that idea where, you know, uh, you could take an LG,
Mhm.
the V60 started at what, 799 was.
799 without the case. Yep.
So 799, and then you could get a next dock, and that
Hmm.
would keep you just under $1,000. And for
Yep.
under $1,000, depending on your workload, you could be in better shape. So man, I'm just spoiling all of my reviews here. I've been playing with that Creator laptop, right?
Yeah, yeah. The MS, I think it was the MSI, right?
So MSI Creator, I've got it over here. And this is a $1,600 base model creator focused laptop.
Hmm.
It's this guy right here. And I love the little Lucky the Dragon.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's other side. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of looks like like a Lamborghini logo on the front of this.
It.
So this is a 10th gen Core i7.
Hmm.
$1,600. A part of that cost is having an RTX 2060.
Okay.
So if we're going for $1,000 laptop, I probably wouldn't have an RTX 2060,
No, no.
right?
More than likely, probably. Yeah. If anything, you'll be MX something.
Well, and if I'm going thin and light, it might even just be integrated Intel graphics. So
Yeah.
10th gen Core i7, if I do a CPU render and I match the quality and resolve versus like Power Director or
Hmm.
KineMaster. Actually, let's go KineMaster, because KineMaster I have better bitrate control than I do in Power Director. If I do a render of the same project, it takes me about 90 seconds. My video rendering test is a minute-long project with transitions, with a watermark, with the
Hmm.
soundtrack. It's 6 individual clips. It's 100 megabit video from a Panasonic mirrorless camera, and it's a 1-minute file. A Core i7 finishes that UHD video render in 90 seconds. How fast do you think my V60 finished that render in KineMaster?
I would, if I remember your video correctly, I think it actually outperformed the PC. It was actually running at a much better pace.
How long, if a Core i7 on a $1,600 laptop, if I don't do the GPU, if I'm doing 10th gen Core i7, and
So
it takes
you're
90 seconds for a 10th gen Core i7 to finish that UHD video render, how fast do you think the V60 can do it?
I would probably think about basically 60 seconds. It's basically around a minute. We are roughly not just a few seconds more.
The V60 finishes that 1-minute complex video render in 40 seconds.
Same. Okay.
Same edits, similar transitions. They're not exactly the same because they're not, it's
No,
how
you're not using the same tool. Yeah, exactly.
but same watermark. I've got it matched to the frame in
Yeah.
each video clip going down my timeline. Same soundtrack, same bit rate, same audio quality. 40 seconds. The V60 finishes the exact same project with slightly different fade transitions, but they look almost exactly the same because it's a fade.
No, it's a no, it's a transition. I think the point that we need to make is there was a transition that was applied as opposed to just saying it's a straight jump cut, so that people understand there's something to be rendered. I think that's the main thing, which that is actually crazy, and I don't doubt that the V60 can perform, because I've used Power Director in the past. I've never used it to that complexity, but I know how fast it is and it performs on it. I don't disagree that I feel like our mobile devices are getting to the point where they are very they're so to kind of summarize the story. I realize I think Windows on ARM needs to become more.
Let me just save you, because I feel like the one thing that we're lacking here are developers that are really tapping this horsepower.
I was going to say that most people are not. They're not.
when you set up a mobile video editing app and you compare it against the amazing software work that you do on DaVinci Resolve, it's very different. You have completely different workflows and obviously a completely different tier of capability. So you're not going to completely change that up. But again, I'm not saying that someone who's looking at a $2,000 mobile workstation computer because they do high tier video work is going to replace that with a $600 phone and a $250 neck dock. But what I am saying is someone who was looking at a $1,000 laptop and they think they might want to play with some video editing is probably going to be in for a better experience on a $600 or $700 phone and a $250 neck stock. If what they care about is stitching together some clips, putting out a high quality 4K video file, having the ease of access, probably pulling those clips from the camera that shot it, if they shot it from their phone. I think that experience is actually better than buying a decent mid-ranger phone and a roughly $800 to $1,000 laptop. I think an $800 phone and a $250 dock is going to be faster. It's going to be more powerful. It's going to be more accessible. And it already has their camera built into it. So I don't even need to transfer files.
No, everything is
everything's there. So that's what I'm saying is like the $1,600 argument. The $1,600 argument gets real weird when you're talking about like a $600 phone and a $1,000 laptop versus a lot less for
$1,000 for a laptop dock and a No, I agree. Where this is where Dex this is where Android desktop needs to kind of pick up some speed at this point, or at least have some presence, because Linux. So first and foremost, if you remember, Dex had Linux on Dex support, which that also got canned for some reason. I don't know why Samsung decided to cancel that option, but the representation of I don't understand, and now we also have other implementations. If you've seen Ubuntu Touch, that was coming up also on the I was very excited for that. I would love to be able to start seeing more development to make that as the desktop experience. The one thing I would definitely say is, with that experience, that makes perfect sense. The consumers right now, what we're seeing right now is that the need for a laptop is not necessarily just for this type of content, but I look at it from the sense of, school productivity and meetings and so on. If I was going to give my son the next dock and run an LG or a Samsung device with Dex on it, it wouldn't work the exact same way for his schooling because of the camera placements and there's the ergonomics of the situation. But for the effect of what you're saying is, yes, there is enough horsepower on our smartphones now to outpace $1,600 laptops for specific tasks, for certain tasks. And they're in your pocket. They're with you all the time. And they just keep getting better and better as time goes on. So my goal is to see more things in the future. But I feel like if you want to be able to get that combo, I think the next stock is overly underrated. I think there should be more coverage for what Nextdock does and what they offer, especially with the new Nextdock Touch. I felt like that experience was so much more refined than what we saw with the first one, and the ability of bringing in touch to Dex, bringing in touch to LG, or even with the Duo. I was actually surprised to see that the Duo supported some touch functionality, although not entirely, but within the confound of what the UI thinks the desktop is.
We're so close to kind of shaking this up, and it definitely, we still need some developer support. We need some attention from Google to really polish up the tools to implement this well. And I would love to get to a point where this is tackled a bit more like a traditional computer's ability to handle an external display. Where I plug it in.
Open up. We need Google. Think of it this way: Android desktop experience has not moved further than where it is now for the last two generations of Android 10 and 11, because Pixels still don't have external display support.
It's so frustrating. But what you were saying is, like, you can mirror. Like you plug in a Duo.
You can cast.
You get a very Microsoft aspect ratio. for your full canvas. And what I would like to see is that desktop mode. You know, it doesn't even need to be this separate desktop mode. It could just be a second display, second space that Android can kind of shove to the side, and then we can multitask and kind of do things to enable content on that second screen. I mean, that's the kind of polish we need. And it's frustrating that I think a lot of people are going to miss out on an experience that would probably get all their stuff done. It would force them to change their behavior. Kind of what you're saying. It's like, I look at the apps and all the web services that my daughter does when we have like the remote schooling.
Yeah.
They work on everything. The school, the school district has to account for every single household having access to some kind of computing product. So all of these apps, all of these services, all of these interactions work on iPads, work on Android, work on Chrome, work on Windows, work on Mac. So there's literally nothing keeping us from running her entire school day on a phone or on a cheap tablet or on our Chromebook.
I was going to say Chromebook has picked up so much and has proved to be so functional for us here in our home. My son's actually entire school year now almost looks like, even the end of 2020, end of his, I think it was at his fourth grade back then, and it runs flawlessly, and it's perfect, and it's just exactly what you want it to do. And it's crazy how, and he's not even running the Pixelbook. Let's just say this: I'm not giving him the high-end Pixel Chromebook. He's running in an Acer Chromebook that I bought 2-3 years ago, and it runs beautifully. Supports external monitor, does everything that it needs to do. So that's one of the things I appreciate about Android. But my hope is at some point we have. Honestly, I would love to see Chrome desktop run with Android. Maybe have them run in a more unison kind of an experience, because it makes sense for them to kind of talk. But that's a conversation for a different episode, for a different show.
I don't want to burn out your voice, kind of rehashing.
No, I know, and
it was just, I had to share both with the Nova, and then I was doing my performance testing, and like, man, it's a good thing that this really nice, expensive creator laptop has a good GPU, because it CPU compute, and this is one of the things. I mean, like, it's what we should also credit Apple. Their processor design, the way that we really manipulate data, the way that we work with apps and software. There is a lot of value to ARM instruction set computing. Like, it makes sense why you can drastically improve efficiency. Even we know that this chip, it doesn't have as much horsepower as like a Core i9 or a AMD or something.
No, obviously, yeah.
But when we start talking about really maximizing the efficiency of every clock cycle, ARM suddenly starts having a different conversation, and our phones have already been leading that conversation, and people haven't wanted to hear it, but legitimately you're missing out if you don't pay attention to this kind of stuff. So now hopefully other developers are going to look at that. We're going to start seeing some trends where we can clean some of this stuff up. I mean, I'm still following projects on Reddit for people that are trying to like fix Android's desktop mode, or the occasional articles on it at XDA, being able to like screencast the Google built-in desktop mode. I mean, there are these little token, I shouldn't say token. There are these little pockets of effort that are happening where, in another year, if we're not modularly kind of plugging brains into different workstation environments to utilize different pieces of hardware, I'm going to be really disappointed if by the end of 2023 we still have the exact same slab of rectangle relationship.
Glowing rectangle. It's I love the Reddit, your subreddit, the glowing rectangles, because it is absolutely on point. Every time I see a new phone come out, I'm like, it's a glowing rectangle. It's like you've engraved that or burned that into my consciousness. We'll have to see how things go. I think I'm hoping with Android 12 we'll see some more development into Android and desktop, and more focus on because I mean, we were supposed to see Android 11 be more focused around foldable displays, right? That was
Mhm.
the whole foray into folding display and new technologies and that. But yet none of the foldables still support Android 11 yet. So we'll have to see how that kind of goes. They're all still running Android 10. Um, and I, without making the conversation go too long, because I also realize that we're we're a little bit over. Uh,
Short time here, so
yeah, I know. I'm going to say this: CES next week, and all the things that are going to come out. I hope we're going to see some nice surprises. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of TV stuff, typical to CES. CES is a TV thing. I loved Sony's announcement today. It was actually kind of, I would say, interesting to see the Bravia, um, the monitors come out today. Uh, I think if there's anything that I'm excited about most about is I want to see what TCL has to talk about. I think I'm interested to see what they did last year. Their announcement with the TCL 10 was a big announcement. Um, we know OnePlus is going to be with the N10, so I still think the N10 or the Nord N10 is a very big deal that I think not enough people are giving it enough attention because of the timing of when it was released. I think they would have made perfect sense a little bit earlier. Um, and I think that's primarily what I was looking forward to, but mostly I would have been more excited to hang out with you and hang out with Josh and get some tacos and go kick it. And it would have been literally times like this time, like 11 o'clock at night, we're going to Shake Shack, we're sitting down and we're getting a burger. That to me, those are the memories I love
and
above
we
CES.
would have been getting like 30,000 steps on our fitness trackers,
I'm
and
telling you, yeah, those are the things I always like. I always tell people like, no, 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 we were clocking in like literally 20 to 30,000 a day, and then you wake up a few hours later and do it all over again. There's an exhaustion level, because Josh was like saying, I love going to PepCom, because we get to sit down, we get to have a drink. I'm like, no, no, dude, I need to get Diet Coke because I need caffeine to re-energize myself because I'm depleted that this crashed
and,
down. So
and like at PepCom, they have the little bar of like slider cheeseburgers and little.
you can't miss them. Like you go in, showstoppers. Obviously, the first thing we always do, we always go straight for the food, go get something to drink. Yeah, no, no, but they know exactly what it is. They set them up specifically because they're at the end of the day, the end of the show, whatever, and it's always done right. And but yes, so for that was my only thing I was really looking forward to for CES, which unfortunately is not happening. But with that being said, I'm sure we'll have more things to talk about next week because we'll have more things announced by the time we talk again. We'll have more exciting things, of course, than some of the stuff that have been going on. And I think my voice is gonna. I may have a problem.
I think
I
out there. So
yeah.
we'll have more to say. I just have no idea what the CES is really gonna look like. So over the next week, stay tuned because it's gonna be a
Definitely.
surprise for us as much as it is for you. And I'm sure we're also gonna have other videos that need to be up on the channel, like my review of the MSI Creator that I spoiled here, and then also my revisiting of a 4-year-old mid ranger that I also spoiled.
I was looking. Well. You spoiled it. You teased it on Monday. I was purely asking because Um, I was excited to see that because I never got my hands on any of the Nova line. My earliest was on the P line, P9. The P9 was the earliest Huawei I've had or I had access to, and of course since then it was the Mates, the Mate 8, 9, 10, and and so on and so forth. But okay. Uh, with that being said, I do. I want to say thank you very much for hanging out with us. I want to say thank you, of course, Juan, for taking time from your day, your evening after a long, long day. And I'm gonna stop talking because I'm really worried I may have what you had a couple weeks ago.
Well, and again, just don't mess around with that. Try and get some rest. Definitely drink a lot of water. Maybe get like a nice warm tea just to kind of help set you off to bed tonight. And for everyone watching, again, thank you so much. The timeline that we're in right now is still the craziest timeline. So keep your heads down, stay safe, be good tech neighbors, be good tech citizens, help people out where you can. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir there because I'm consistently proud of our little community for stepping up to these situations and these occasions. And we'll be back next week. Again, I know I'm being real flip floppy, wishy washy about what CES is going to be, but we're going to have some stuff to talk about, I'm sure. So it'll always be a fun conversation, and a fun conversation that we get to kind of join with everybody in here. So everyone be well, take care. And we'll catch you all on future videos, some future live streams, and next week's little chill hangout live stream, best of our week. I think it's a thing. I think we're going to keep this up.
I think so. I think so too.
All right.
Bye bye, everybody.
Love you all. Push end, TK.
Yeah. Good night.